All right. So thank you for being here. As you mentioned, this is the first of the sessions. The idea is to acquaint us about what we do at Gerocare, because we seem to be solving a problem many people have, but people don't seem to know about us. Now, a lot of our aging parents are still suffering things they should not be suffering. So my belief is that after this session, at least, we'll have enough information to take informed decisions. So I'll be sharing my screen right now for us to begin. As has been said, my name is Dr. Abi Ofrim, co-founder and CEO of Gerocare. And Gerocare is revolutionizing healthcare delivery in Nigeria, beginning with the elderly. So some may ask, why the elderly? It's simple. Because in countries like Nigeria, before you get to the age of 40, there's a 75% chance you will have lost one or both your parents to untimely death, or have at least one of them severely incapacitated by conditions that could have been prevented. If you just look around yourself, you'll realize that people you know 40, 45 and above have similar situations where if parents are alive, one is facing a condition that should ordinarily have been prevented if they had regular doctor visits. So to many others, this may just sound like a statistic until you have a personal experience like I did. So a few years ago, in the space of 1 year, unfortunately, my father had two massive strokes. And that's not because there's nothing I could have done. I was simply living and working in another location at the time, like many of us. Subsequently, my mother called me. And like only a mother can, she told me her blood pressure was high and her blood sugar was high. But there is something she said that jolted me. She said I had neglected them. And like many of us, I thought that was impossible. How could I neglect my own parents? But after closely analyzing it, I realized that while focused on my own immediate family and my career, I had subconsciously neglected this special group of people. It then occurred to us that there are millions of people facing this particular problem. And the only time they hear anything most times is when something has already gone tragically wrong. And so the question was, is there a way whereby no matter where you are in the world, you can constantly provide healthcare for your parents and remind them that you care? And so my partners and I launched Gerocare. So Gerocare is basically a cloud-based system that makes it extremely easy for Nigerians wherever they are in the world, be it in London, in Paris, in New York, or even other states in Nigeria, to subscribe for regular doctor home visits and home medical care for their parents in Nigeria using the Gerocare application. They simply go to our website, create an account for themselves as sponsors, add the person they want us to care for as a beneficiary, and then make a payment. Immediately, these parents are matched to a doctor who lives nearby, who begins to visit them at home at least once a month and give us, the children, real-time feedback wherever we are in the world. And by real-time feedback, I mean when the doctor gets to the house, he checks in on the application. Wherever in the world you are, you know he's in your house. When he's done, he checks out. Wherever you are in the world, you know he has left. You then receive a summary on how your parents are doing for that day. If they need drugs or tests, you're able to pay via your app and it's delivered to them at home. So they receive the exact same care they will have received in a clinic, just that it's taking place in the home, with the added benefit of you being informed with whatever is going on in them or with them at that time. So many ask the question, what exactly happens in a Gerocare doctor home visit? So many of us have been to hospitals, but we realize that in the hospital, the only person you really need to see is the doctor. You don't have to see the pharmacist physically, or you don't have to see the laboratory scientist. And so we realized that you don't have to be in the same building with them. So what we basically did was translate your parents' living room or home into a doctor's consulting room, where he appears connected to everybody else you need. So like a typical consultation, a doctor takes a history, he does examination, and then he writes a prescription or request for investigations. The only difference being that instead of writing a physical prescription or making a physical investigation request, he makes the request on his application. He goes to a pharmacy network who delivers to your parents at home. If your parents need investigations, he makes requests on his platform. He goes to our lab network who sends someone home to take the sample. In the event of X-rays or CT scans or MRIs, they're able to arrange pick up and drop off. So wherever you are in the world, you know everything is being handled. And so the question, what takes place in the home, is similar to whatever takes place in the hospital. If you've been there, you know when you get to a clinic, what happens first? They take your blood pressure, they take your pulse, they take your temperature, and then they transfer you to the doctor who consults with you. Afterwards, you go to the lab, you go to the pharmacy and all that. Everything takes place in their home without missing a bit. So what are the benefits to you, the sponsor or the customer? We refer to the children who pay for the service as sponsors or the customers. One, you have peace of mind wherever you are, knowing that your parents' healthcare is being handled. You have real-time updates on your parents' health status via your mobile applications and via emails. You have access to your parents' medical records via your mobile app. So this enables you to request for a second opinion if you want to, or if your parents travel to where you are, you have access to their records to be able to show whichever doctor they're seeing, what has been going on with them. And finally, it's quite affordable. For many of us, the expenses we have in a month surpasses the money you pay for the care. Many people have cable subscriptions. For instance, right now, I know DSTV, for instance, the premium plan is higher than our monthly Gerocare plan. And many of us have house helps. Some have 3 house helps that you pay much more than the money you pay for Gerocare. But the value provided goes far beyond the amount of money that is paid. So what are the benefits to the elderly patient or the beneficiary? So they have access to quality medical care in the comfort of their home, inclusive of doctor home visits, home delivery of medication, home sample collection for tests. They have access to their very own personal doctor or Gerocare medical team at any time via call or WhatsApp. So the beauty is that you don't just have access to the doctor, but you have access to the Gerocare medical team, which goes a step ahead, having access to only one person. You have access to care without having the need to pay at the point of care for themselves. For many of our parents, we know this is a factor because many times they need some care, but at that point in time, they may not have the cash. My mother, for instance, is diabetic and hypertensive. And I remember before Gerocare, at the end of the month, she will need to decide which of the medications she wants to buy with her mega income. However, all her children are able to afford this care without, batting an eye. And so the question is, how can they get to know about it before she does and provide her with it so she does not feel like a burden? We also have early detection and management of health conditions because, as we know, most of the complications they face have been there early on. In this also, we have an example of a family friend who had a father that seemed extremely healthy, went to church on a Sunday morning, participated in service. But when he got home, he decided to call his friend he had not spoken to in a while. While speaking to this friend on the phone, all of a sudden, the friend could no longer hear him. Like a typical Nigerian, he felt it was network and kept on dialing back. But they had no idea the man had passed away. But people will say, but this man was strong, he was healthy, what happened? The question is, was he strong or was nobody just checking? Because when his blood pressure moved from 160 or 170 to 180, no one was there. 180 to 200, no one was there. Something happens and people say, but the man was healthy. So there are lots of conditions that could be detected early and prevented from getting to the stage where it becomes a medical emergency. We also have psychotherapy, having someone to have intellectual discussions with at least once a month to ensure good mental health and allay loneliness and depression. So here, I remember when I used to run this service myself. So prior to launching Gerocare the way it is, I saw 20 elderly patients alone in Port Harcourt then. Every month I go and see them and give their children updates. Then there was no technology, it was a personal relationship with these children. And I realized that the basic part of this, my care, was my discussion with mama or papa. They were very excited to see me. They had things they wanted to tell me because over the month, things have happened they wanted to update me on. So the medical care itself was like 10, 15 minutes, but the remaining time was me being a surrogate child to them. And that's what Gerocare does. So they also have the reassurance that though their children are not there with them, they know they have not been abandoned, as this service indicates that children are still thinking about them. So each time the doctor steps into the house, no matter how busy you are where you are, it reminds your parents that you care. And mothers, for instance, there's no amount of I love you say that action will not speak louder than. I remember when I had patients in Port Harcourt, my visit was an event because they tell all their neighbors, the doctor so-and-so has sent is around. The doctor this person has sent is around. He's in UK, but he sent a doctor to see me. So all those give them bragging rights and make them feel a lot better and less likely to feel like they have been abandoned and have been forgotten. So right now in Nigeria, Gerocare has 3 regional offices in Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt. And over the 7 years of our existence, we've provided over 150,000 doctor home visits. They're both our individual plans and our enterprise plans. Our individual plans involve people like you and I making monthly payments for our parents' care. And enterprise plans involve partnerships with NGOs, with HMOs, with corporates and governments to provide care for a group of people. So this combined has enabled us to provide over 150,000 doctor home visits. Right now, we have about 750 doctors across Nigeria in 62 cities. And we are partnered with over 1,000 pharmacies and over 150 laboratories across Nigeria. So really, there's nowhere your parents are we cannot get to. There is no reason why they should not be receiving care at this moment. So generally, when you subscribe to Gerocare, these are the basic benefits. You have access to the Gerocare platform. So you can create multiple accounts. So for your parents, for your in-laws, for that teacher you really love from primary school, you are able to get visit reports, online medical records, access to partner services like drugs, tests, caregivers, specialists, real-time healthcare tracking. So at every point in time, you know what's going on. Real-time health expenses tracking also. Many of us that try to make payments to third parties are not really sure what the money is used for. Some time back, we had a client that just signed up that used to send money regularly from the US. But when he came and saw the state of his mother, he could not believe it because the money that was being sent was not being used for what it was to be used for. And so with Gerocare, you can see what all your money is used for. You can actually fund your wallet so that each time something is needed, it's drawn down, and then you see all the money that has been spent. So what happens in the exact consultation is what I described. The doctor goes to the home, has a history taken, does a general examination, physical examination, sometimes a random blood sugar test is done if necessary. He requests for lab investigations, requests for prescriptions. There's a nutritional advice given to the patients. We also have optional added services. So for instance, we see them, we request for medication, but you feel there's someone in the house that can buy the medication, that's fine. The person can go and buy the medication. However, if you need Gerocare to purchase that medication and deliver it to them, there's a slight added cost for those type of things. You also have caregivers, consultant services, physiotherapists, and other things that enable the elderly person receive all they need at home. Gerocare is the one-stop shop for elderly care, no matter what they need. Be it drugs, be it adult diapers, be it consumables, be it specialists. The fact that they're now with us, you can be rest assured everything will be taken care of. Our other services, as mentioned, home nursing care. We have home post-rehabilitation and physiotherapy. We have ambulance services. We have home diagnostic and pharmaceutical services. Recently, we added 2 more services. So we have the home vaccination services. Although it's not so common at the moment, on our platform, you can request for elderly vaccines for your parents. You can also request for ambulance services directly. Right now, we're in partnership with a company called Oriki to even enable us provide luxury for your parents. In the event you want them to have a spa experience, you can also get it through us. We are looking to get a lot more partnership to ensure your elderly patients or elderly parents live a healthier, more comfortable life. It's not just about doctor visits, it's about ensuring a holistic care for them. So what are the payments like? For doctor on-demand service, that's a doctor visit within 24 hours, it costs $50. For the subscription services, which are the monthly doctor home visits. So the on-demand services are good, but the truth is that for us to go to an on-demand service, it means the regular doctor visits were not being provided, or to an extent, something had happened. So what we do is that we encourage regular doctor home visits to forestall or prevent any need for an emergency visit. The truth is that for the elderly, if you wait till something happens, most of the time it's almost impossible to get them back to their optimal health. So it's important they are seen regularly, if not every month, probably every quarter. We have teleconsultation, which is a doctor speaking to them via voice call or video calls. And we have caregiver services. But interestingly, under the subscription, you already have access to teleconsultation within the service. So if mama is being seen by a doctor, between visits, they're able to speak to the doctor or speak to the medical team. So that also encapsulates teleconsultation. So it's doctor on-demand service, subscription services, which are monthly doctor home visits, teleconsultation, and caregiver services. The caregiver services are either live-in caregiver or live out. Live out are those that come in the morning and live in the evening. Live-in are those that live with them. Again, it's important you put everything under one roof. Your doctor services, your caregiver services, and whatever else they need to ensure everybody is able to communicate appropriately and give your parents the best care they can get. So this is just a testimonial from one of our sponsors. Fortunately, I see the name over here. I don't know if it's her or her husband, but this is a testimonial she put on our website. She's on this call. She says, I registered my dad to benefit from the service of Gerocare in 2020. I have to testify that the ease of subscribing, making payments, contacting and receiving responses from staff within the organization has been excellent. My family is very happy with the level of service, the respect and dignity, extra services provided, such as undertaking investigations at home. We are so happy and can see the positive difference in my daddy's healthcare provision since signing up to Gerocare. The organization has offered flexible services, reasonable payments, and have listened to my family in providing the best quality home visits and support to my dad. I will definitely be recommending the services to all elderly relatives and parents of my friends. It is wonderful to relate with an organization that holds dear my personal and cultural values. I also look forward to offering my services as part of the great Gerocare team. The truth is that there are lots and lots of testimonials like this, and this is basically why we do what we do. Gerocare is not just in this to make money, but we're in this to connect families back together, because we understand that people have to travel, people have to leave, people have to leave their parents behind. But the reason they leave is not because they don't love their parents, but because they want to fend better for them. But unfortunately, there had been a gap all this time. Fortunately, Gerocare is here to fill the gap. So you can travel, do whatever you need to do, fully understanding that Gerocare is here to take care of them. We see ourselves as the sibling you leave back home to care for your parents and do above and beyond what you would have done, even if you are here, understanding the trust you have placed in us. So over the years, we've won quite a few awards. So yes, we have testimonials. Yes, I've said all this, but we've been recognized both locally and internationally. And these are a few of our awards. So we were selected as top 9 finalists for the Kofi Annan Award for Innovation in Africa in 2022. Top 20 finalists for the African Business Heroes Competition in 2021 by Jack Ma Foundation. Recipients of the Google Black Founders Funds 2021, selected from across Africa. One of 15 awardees for the Google for Startups 2021 program, again from across Africa. The Outstanding Digital Health Innovator, given to us by the Healthcare Communication Group. Top 30 African Healthcare Innovation 2019. This is one I'm particularly proud of, given to us by the World Health Organization and showcased in the World Health Forum in Cape Verde. Best of the Nigerian Tech Ecosystem, awarded by Africa Arena and showcased at the Africa Arena Summit in Cape Town 2019. Top 50 Business Innovators in Africa 2018, given to us by the Africa Innovation Summit and showcased in Africa Innovation Summit in Kigali, Rwanda. Global Top 10 finalists, Slush Global Impact Acceleration Showcase in 2018 in Helsinki, Finland, and our first award of all time. Can you see my screen? Number one was in 2018. It was the first place winners Nigeria Economic Summit Group Pitch Competition. It led us to a relationship with Sterling Bank. All right. So yes, clearly we have a great product, but we also have a great team led by myself. I've been a medical doctor now for over 2 decades. I've been a strategic innovation consultant for over 11. I have a master's in business for which I graduated with a distinction. I'm a certified Blue Ocean strategy consultant. I have a background in geriatric care. I have 2 certificates in geriatric care. I've also been the past medical director of a state-owned hospital, and I served as head of medical services for the Bayelsa Health Insurance Scheme before launching or leaving to build and grow Gerocare. My co-founder, Dr. Ajibola, has also been working for over 25 years, an expert in health management consulting. I was involved in the initial implementation of the National Health Insurance Scheme in Nigeria, and has played pivotal roles in both private and academic sector, rising to Deputy Vice Chancellor of a private university. He had been Dean of Student Affairs, Director of Academic Planning, and all sorts of administrative positions in academia, and also did quite a bit in health insurance before leaving to build and grow Gerocare. So our technical co-founder, Bruce Lucas, has also been building software now for over 20 years. And we strongly believe that the Gerocare model is the future of primary healthcare, not just in Nigeria, but all across Africa, converting every home to a primary healthcare center. So this is just a short video clip of our BBC feature. It should take about 2 minutes. I'd like us to look at it, have a session with it.
Gerocare is actually leveraging technology to fill in the gap or to help with the failing health system in the country, especially as regards to the elderly. Though we know in Nigeria, the health system is not as it should be, but it's even worse for the elderly because even the system that exists, as inadequate as it still doesn't consider the elderly in any way. So we are trying to leverage technology to provide care for these people and make it possible for them to receive a semblance of decent health care. The care we provide is primary health care, and so GPs and medical officers are able to provide this type of care. And then they are overseen by consultants to review what they do. Once they come on board, they input their details, their medical certificates, their MDCN number. Fortunately, in Nigeria, medical service is one of the well-regulated industries whereby you can identify every single doctor. So we also have an extra layer of client services who ensures the patients are happy with their doctors.
Yes, so mommy, you're doing very well. Blood sugar is fine. Blood pressure is fine. I'm impressed.
Our subscription is based on the fact that our visits to the elderly are not one-off. When you pay your subscription, you have access to at least 1 doctor visit. That doctor assigned to you is at your beck and call for the month. You have access to the platform and the reports and all those things. So for instance, you can take your mobile device and then look how Mama has been for this period of time. by checking their reports. So nothing really surprises you. We want to avoid the situation where you get to the house and the only solution is to take them to the hospital because you've not seen them for a while. But if you see them regularly, you catch those conditions at the earliest possible stage and manage it such that it never becomes an emergency. So though it helps their health, what it tells the parents is that though I'm in Lagos, you're in Port Harcourt, or I'm in the UK and you're in Nigeria, I still think about you and need to ensure you're doing well. So the future for Gerocare is ensuring we're able to actually make medical home care services the first line of care across board.
Yeah. So thank you. That's a BBC feature. I think that was a few years ago. We are looking to be featured on the German network, I think this week or next week also. Just basically showcasing the great things we're doing. So before I go, there's one more thing. So for those interested in coming or participating in the affiliate Gerocare program, you can also become a Gerocare broker. Remember when I first started, I mentioned the fact that there are lots of people that have this problem, but somehow they don't seem to be hearing about the solution. So apart from benefiting personally from the service for your parents, you are also able to tell people about it and make a sort of commission on the people you talk to them about. So there's a short video, a 1-minute video I'd also like to show that shows how this is done. But let's keep a note that the video was done a while back. So the amount of revenue you can generate has gone far higher than the one in the video.
Want to earn residual income? You can now earn as much as 150,000 Naira monthly with the Gerocare Residual Income Program, GRIP. GRIP allows you easily achieve this when you refer people to Gerocare services. Here's how. Sign up as an agent using this link, bit.ly/GRIP agent. A unique broker code and a unique subscriber sign-up link will be generated. Get paid between 3,000 to 20,000 Naira for every user who signs up using your link, depending on the plan they choose. Get updates about your expected earnings anytime by logging into your account using bit.ly/GRIP account, ensuring a transparent process. Access your broker account using referral code as username and password. Gerocare is a World Health Organization endorsed solution that enables people provide regular doctor home visits to their parents in any city in Nigeria from anywhere they are in the world. Want to find out more about us? Visit us on our website at www.gerocare.org and our social media handles on various platforms.
All right. So thank you very much for listening. I hope the interruption did not destabilize you quite a bit. But fortunately, you've been able to hear the broad strokes of what we do at Gerocare, the benefit of our service. And we have a session open for questions and answers to provide more clarity on any other issues. Before I leave this session, it's important to note that this service is not just any other business. It's a service that helps you provide care for your parents who spend time taking care of you and making you the person you are today. The truth is that many times these parents took care of 4, 5 children, but as they age, these 5 children are still available, but they have no way to come together to care for these parents. Let's use Gerocare to show them that we care. Thank you very much. And if you can hear me now, over to you to handle the question and answer session. If you have questions, you can use the chat. But some questions were already submitted, so we'll start with those to keep the question and answer session going. Is any over there?
Thank you, Dr. Ebiofre, for the insightful presentation. It's actually better to use 2 devices. I was having network issues earlier. We totally apologize for the glitch earlier. So moving forward, we'll go to the question and answer section. To start with, I would like to address some frequently asked questions. The first one is, a good number of Nigerians in the diaspora have had experiences or a story around misdiagnosis, long waits for care, lack of emergency services, mismanagement of funds sent home. The list go on and on. What plan does Gerocare has for those listening today from the diaspora, and how does Gerocare aim to assist their families in Nigeria? Over to you, sir.
Yeah, so thank you. Basically, how we plan to assist them is the solution we provide right now. The beauty is that to enable quality assurance, certain steps have been put in place. So our quality assurance has been divided into clinical quality assurance and client satisfaction quality assurance. So for the clinical quality assurance, there is a deep vetting level that goes to the doctors that we onboard. Fortunately, in Nigeria, medical services is one of the only systems where every single doctor can be identified with their medical and dental council number. So for you to be a doctor in Nigeria, you are registered and you have an MDCN number. That number can be verified to be sure you're a doctor and have passed through the process. So that is step one. We ensure you've done your National Youth Service Corps, and we ensure that when you are onboarded on the platform, you are assigned to someone who oversees what you do. Many of us go to hospitals and see doctors. When he's done, he prescribes and we leave. That is the usual process. But in Gerocare, we've taken the step higher by assuring you that these reports that these doctors submit, someone senior still takes a look at their reports to make sure they're fine. So that's the clinical services side of things. Now we have the client services or customer services side of things. After being a doctor for over 2 decades, we know the satisfaction the patient has also derived from the likeness or comforts the doctor has with the patient. No matter how good you are as a doctor, if the patient does not like you, there's a limit to what they will do based on what you say. So once we've assured the clinical side is good, we are also able to ensure that the patient is satisfied with the doctor. Because after every doctor visit, client services calls the patient to be sure everything is fine. But again, you know how our elderly patients are. They don't like reporting people. And so no matter what happens, they try to avoid saying something. So we have coined a certain set of questions to enable us elicit the best out of the elderly. So what we can say is, what can the doctor improve upon? We don't say, what did they do wrong? But some people won't say anything because they are, you know how our parents are. So you say, what can they improve upon? And then we're able to hear certain things along those lines. We've realized that putting these checks and balances in place is able to ensure that our patients are satisfied. We have what they call a Net Promoter Score, which is an assessment of the level of satisfaction of our patients, which ranges from a 1 to 10. 1 being, I will not refer this service at all, and 10 being, I will definitely refer it. And most of the time, our NPS lands on 8 and 9, meaning there's something we're doing right. So the case of misdiagnosis has been reduced by the fact that the doctors are overseen and actual investigations are done. And the case of client dissatisfaction has also been reduced. However, despite all these things, if the patient is still not happy with the doctor definitely is going to be replaced because the patient is the key person we're interested in. You're on mute, NM.
Can you hear me? So sorry.
Yes,
Can you hear me now?
yes.
Okay. Thank you very much for that insightful presentation. Second question. This is one question we get to hear often from our clients and then people that want to know more about Gerocare. I would like to address that today so our participants would know exactly what they are signing in for. So some people would like to know, is it worth subscribing to Gerocare services if a parent is currently healthy? Okay. Do you get me, sir?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I remember in the early days, people always mentioned that, my parent is healthy. They don't need Gerocare. But if you remember the story I talked about earlier on, about the father that went to church on a Sunday morning, and by afternoon, something was wrong. The question is, was that man not strong and healthy? Seemingly to the outside world, he was. But unfortunately, things were going on within. And so Gerocare is not a service where you wait until the person is extremely ill before you sign up to Gerocare. No, the best time to sign up to Gerocare is when they're seemingly healthy to ensure they remain that way. For our parents, once something starts, especially for the elderly, it's difficult to get them back to optimal level. So it's best to start when it looks like there's nothing. I remember again when we first started in Abuja from a program called Ventures Platform in Aso Drive. There was someone who was one of our quote unquote mentors who wanted to just patronize Gerocare because he's our mentor. He sent us to his house to see his mom. Unfortunately, we got there that day because if I had gotten there a week later, that woman would have been in a coma because her blood sugar was extremely high. But to him, he was being nice to Gerocare by sending them to our house. So many times our parents, I know when we are growing up, our fathers look strong, larger than life. We don't think anything can go wrong with them. Yes, something is happening because they are already elderly. So the fact they seem healthy does not mean you should subscribe. That's actually the best time to subscribe to Gerocare so that they live longer, healthier lives. And we catch everything we find on time. So healthy parents are the best time to start Gerocare. However, if there is something, it's also good because we ensure it does not move as fast as it will have if nobody went there.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. Secondly, I think this question is one someone asked me this question just last week, and I would like you to address it in this meeting today. What if I have a friend or a family member who is a doctor and can check on my parents when needed? Will I still require Gerocare services?
Okay, awesome. So that's a very common question. And then what I would like to say is for the person to call for the services, something has already happened. What Gerocare tries to do is ensure they monitor them closely so that those things don't arise. For your parents to call you that there is a problem before you call this doctor is a major problem. We had a client about a year ago who her mother fell down in Abeokuta. She lives in Ajah, Lagos, for those who are conversant with Nigeria. The woman was at work, but she left work immediately and rushed down to Abeokuta. She was now forcing over the mother. After a while, the mother could not take it anymore. She said, she said, what's the problem? Is it because I called you today? It has been happening regularly. I just didn't want to disturb you. So there are many times things happen, but they don't want to disturb us. But when they can't take it anymore, they now inform you, you now tell your friend. That's not the time. They should be able to have regular visits to ensure those things don't happen. We also have the situations where the friend of yours is doing it to you or for you as a favor. If it's not convenient for him, he might postpone or might not do it. Or in the beginning, he might do it, but after a while, he might not be as swift as you want him to, simply because it's a favor. Gerocare is a paid service. Whenever the care is needed, it is provided for them. So it's very important. Even if you have a friend, the friend doesn't check on them regularly. The friend does not give you updates on what's going on. You cannot open your device and know how she has been. Whatever the friend is doing is a favor. It's always better to have someone that is paid to provide that service and you know is responsible for your mother's care.
Thank you very much. You mentioned earlier that Gerocare has doctors across the 36 states in Nigeria. I'm sure that is clear already to our participants because a lot of people tend to ask, is Gerocare, can I find Gerocare in this particular village? Can I find Gerocare here and there? So we want to know, how does Gerocare overcome cultural and language barriers when delivering healthcare services across the regions in Nigeria?
Yeah. The beautiful thing is that in those cities, the doctors that are used are doctors from within that location. So majority of the time, those doctors are conversant with the cultures of that location and are able to speak the language. So for instance, our patients in Kaduna most likely will be seen with a Kaduna-based doctor even if he's not from Kaduna, it's highly likely he can speak the Hausa language and is able to communicate with the patient. So many times what I also say as an added layer is that for those patients that go to hospitals, how do they communicate with the doctor when they get to the hospital? Do they have a translator with them? Maybe their niece or nephew or whoever takes them to the clinic. When they see the doctor there, that niece or nephew acts as a translator. But in our own case, the doctor can handle the case. Peradventure, for one reason or the other, the dialect of the language, because you understand in Ondo State, for instance, there's Yoruba, there's the Ondo Yoruba, and so on and so forth. If the dialect is not one the doctor is familiar with, then the person in the house can assist with that. But most of the time, the doctor seeing the patient is a doctor from that location that is conversant with the culture of that location.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Obi. Someone is asking from the listener section. I would like you to address that. To our participants, if you have questions, you can drop it on the chat or you raise your hand, or you can send it to me directly and I'll read your question out. So someone wants to know, what healthcare services does Gerocare provide for its users? I think you've mentioned that, but just throw more light on it.
Yeah. So the way I answer that question most times is finding out what happens in a hospital. So when a patient goes to a hospital, he gets his blood pressure checked by the nurse, the pulse, the breath rate, the temperature. He goes into the consulting room to have a conversation with the doctor. The doctor does a general examination and a systemic examination. Based on this, the doctor provides a prescription or request for investigations. All this take place, but it happens in the patient's home. And it happens every single month when the patient goes to that, when the doctor goes to that location. There are also added benefits of specialist care. Consultants can review them either at home or at the centers. We have physiotherapy, we have caregivers and nursing services.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Obi. Yes, this question just came in now, and I would like you to address it before.
So there's a hand up to, I don't know if you see it.
I can't see that.
Okay, so Linda has a hand up. Let's just take her question quickly.
Actually, this is not a question. It's actually a comment, and I'll be happy to if I can wait if it's necessary, and because I think it just ties everything up at the end of the day.
Okay, awesome. So you'll be the final comment then. Thank you. So go ahead, Ede.
Okay, thank you, Linda, for that. We have another question. How does Gerocare ensure quality and... Okay, let me take that again. How does Gerocare ensure quality and reliability of the healthcare service it offers to its users?
Yeah. So I think I'll just go through it again. I mentioned the quality assurance on the clinical side and quality assurance on the client services side. So on the clinical side, we vet our doctors to be sure they're doctors through the MDCN number, their certificates, and then we ensure we assign them to consultants who review what they do. So similar to the teaching hospital setting, where you have residents and consultants, there's a particular way a doctor is supposed to report his findings. So usually for anyone that has been to a teaching hospital, the consultant is seeing patients in another room. The residents are seeing patients in another room. But sometimes the residents go to the consultant's room to help them review a case. In that way, the consultant never sees the patient, but based on the doctor's reports, he's able to make an informed decision. It's the exact same way they will present to their consultant in person, that report that the consultant sees is presented to him. So he's able to make a decision on what's the best next action the person is supposed to take. So we have to also note that the reports that go out are twofold. There's a report summary that goes to the sponsor from the doctor, and there's a very detailed medical report summary that goes to the consultant that sees. that details everything that the sponsor himself may not understand, but in a language the consultant will. That goes to the consultants who review that. Then we also talk about quality assurance from the satisfaction side of things, where we call the beneficiary after every visit to be sure they're okay with the service.
Thank you very much. Dr. Ibi, you've explained how the benefits of subscribing to Gerocare or using Gerocare services. So we'd like to know, what should these seniors expect when they are assigned a doctor through Gerocare?
So when they assign a doctor, what happens is that, first of all, the sponsor is important. The sponsor informs the beneficiary that a doctor has been assigned, so that when the doctor calls to book his appointments, the beneficiary is not surprised or doesn't think there's something strange going on. Once the beneficiary has been informed, the doctor now calls within 3 working days, if it's a subscription, on demand within 24 hours, to book the appointment with Mama. When the appointment is booked, the doctor schedules it on his application so the sponsor is aware. At the time of the visit, the doctor then goes to see Mama at home, and then he checks in when he gets there. Then he has the normal consultation with Mama, the history taken, the examination, and the report submission goes to the sponsor. Based on the recommendations, we either provide drugs and tests, or we request for CT scans or all other things that require pickup and drop off. But that's basically what happens. Once you sign up, within 3 working days, the first visit is scheduled. After the first visit, subsequent visits are monthly. So some may ask, what if Mama needs a visit in between visits? What we have noticed many times, our personal experience multiple times, where the beneficiary calls the doctor thinking they need a visit. But most of the time, what they need is teleconsultation and reassurance that they will be seen in the next visit. But however, if the beneficiary calls and they require a visit, an unscheduled visit is provided, especially because the patient may have multiple visits that have not been used yet on their platform. One can be brought forward and given to the patients. Again, it's important to note that many times the sponsor also calls expecting or thinking there's a need for a visit. So I had a case recently where, the sponsor is in the US, the mother is in Nigeria. She calls very frantic. Her mother has a massive headache. She cannot talk, she cannot move. But then the doctor gets there and the mother is talking and laughing and playing and jovial. So we fully also understand that many times when you're far away from your parents or your beneficiaries, you are already feeling a sense of heightened apprehension because you feel a bit helpless. So there are situations whereby you feel it's extremely necessary, but an examination of the patient may not be as bad. So sometimes in those cases, a teleconsultation will suffice because after speaking to them, you understand the situation and then you are able to reassure the beneficiary where they are. Subsequently, you'll realize that after a while, the beneficiary or the sponsor gets comfortable with you. But usually the early stages, before they get comfortable with Gerocare, they're still very apprehensive. And then after a few visits, they'll be okay that, everything is fine and they can trust us to do what we need to do.
Thank you very much. So finally, before I allow Linda to take the floor, you've discussed Gerocare mission and why we do what we do. What specific outcome is Gerocare striving for?
Okay. So usually for that question, I like to talk about my own personal story. So for me, anyone that knows my father knows he's larger than life. As in, to me, he was a tower. But currently, when I go home, the condition I see him is nothing to write home about. He can't speak, he can't walk, he can't do anything. But I know if Gerocare was available, the situation will not be this bad. And so the outcome I want people to have is the direct opposite of the outcome I have. I want people to be able to have a longer life with their parents. I want their parents to retire, to be able to play joyfully with their children. I want their parents to be able to even trend in some viral videos of the fun they're having. Because after spending their productive years taking care of us, in the later stages, they should be living the life they planned for. So the outcome is to help them, one, live a longer, healthier, more comfortable life. Living longer is not enough. The life has to be comfortable. It has to be happy. And that's what we try to do. So that's why health is one part. Ensuring they're healthier and happier is another. That's why I talked about earlier on. We are joining hands with the Oriki Spa to make sure everyone able to, at occasion, pamper mama, give her a spa experience and other partnerships to ensure that the older years are golden years as they're supposed to be.
Okay, thank you very much. Over to you, Linda. Let's hear you before we proceed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for this session. Before I go ahead, AB, do you have water beside you? Please drink water. Should also show you care too.
Yeah.
And so, so I have a couple of things to say. I have always been a fan of Gerocare. I'm also a client. My parents are mostly here in the US, but at times they go home to Nigeria. And when they're in Nigeria, I actually feel very comfortable having Gerocare taking care of them. Even though they get all their medical attention and everything here in the US. But at home, I know that, oh, somebody is actually checking up on them. I'll give you one experience. We woke up one morning and we saw that my dad had one side of his face was down. And we were wondering what was going on. And he was at home, he was in Nigeria. There was no way to quickly move him. We didn't even know how to move him over without causing instability. So of course, I reached out to Gerocare. They were able to check up on him. They were able to take him into labs and actually stabilize him before we were able to move him over. So for some of us that think that, well, our parents, mostly they are here, they have all their medical things being taken care of here. At times, because we know how restless these parents are, they like being home. They like being in Nigeria to relax and everything. So Gerocare can cover up that spot. The other point, I think somebody had asked about, oh, but we have a doctor or we have a friend that goes and checks up on them occasionally. My uncle, he's in Ibuzo. Yes, my dad was paying for a doctor to go and check up on him. But we found out that after some time we couldn't even communicate with the doctor. There was no feedback, there was nothing. We were getting so many reports that he wasn't feeling well. So Gerocare came and covered up that place. And he was in Ibuzo, which is far away from Asaba, but Gerocare was there. So I think all in all is peace of mind for us. And it's nothing like having the care in our palms. You see it on your dashboard. You see it on your phone. You're actually part of the medical team and all. And it is really affordable. And it's pretty much a Walmart of care. They can order the drugs if you want to. They can take them to the labs. They brought a driver to take my dad to the labs to do his x-rays and all. So I hope as you all are thinking about this, that these points convince you that this is worth looking into. And you guys can always consult me. I'll be happy to answer. The last thing I want to say is that it's just impressive that this kind of service can work in Africa. It's actually a model for Africa, and it's something that we should all be proud of. Over.
All right. So thank you very much, Linda. That was very encouraging and validating of all the efforts we're putting into this and the things we have been trying to do. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Linda. Thank you. We appreciate that words of encouragement and encouraging people to subscribe to Gerocare. So finally, Dr. Ebi Ofrey, I would ask you this last question, then we wrap it up. What technology, I know you've been mentioning that you made us understand that Gerocare is leveraging on technology. So what technological advancement does Gerocare employ to connect Nigerians with healthcare services? Over to you, sir.
So basically, what we focus on Gerocare and what I, as a founder and coach for founders in Nigeria, advocates, is using the basic technology. We have not finished using the basic technology and people are trying to use advanced technology. The basic technology is still available to us and need to be maximized. So what we basically do is the web application and native applications to ensure people are able to seamlessly follow what is going on and seamlessly communicate with their parents or follow the care that is going on with their parents in Nigeria. Fortunately, we're in the process of including things like wearables to enable us monitor these beneficiaries 24 hours. But the truth is that in Nigeria, as Linda said, let's focus on the simple things we can do that is a model for Nigeria and not try to adopt models for other locations that have particular, nuances that may not suit the Nigerian context. So for anyone even having anything in Nigeria, focus on the simple. The simple are able to provide the services for the problems we have and then gradually taper up to more advanced. So for us, the more advanced are the wearables we are putting in place right now to enable everybody monitor their mothers or fathers' situation on a real-time daily.
Okay, thank you very much. So we've come to the end of this session. Dr. Ebi, your final words before I could wrap it up.
So my final words would be the fact that the solution exists. Many of us have this problem, but are not aware the solution exists. I'm here to let you know the solution exists, and it may not be as expensive as you think. I remember the first time a doctor came to my house or saw my mom, she was already apprehensive that I'm spending so much money. How can I send the whole doctor to the house? No, it's not as expensive as you think. So that's another area technology comes in. It has helped us to provide this service at a much cheaper level than we'll have had to do ordinarily. If a typical hospital is sending a doctor to the home, for instance, I was in a discussion with a large hospital yesterday to see how Gerocare can help them streamline their home care services. And I heard how much they charge for home services, and I was flabbergasted. That's because a normal home service is supposed to cost that much, but we have been able to bring it down. So the solution exists and is not as expensive as you think. Go to the site and sign up. And the other thing I would like to add is that we should be seen as your siblings back home. You're traveling, you left your younger sibling at home to care for your parents. Whatever that sibling will do and more, we will do. Just be rest assured we're taking care of them. So go straight to our website and sign up if you haven't signed up. Ask more questions, chat with our clients, representatives there, just to make sure you take this next step. Because there are lots of times we hear, I wish I knew, or what if, had I known. All those statements should not come from you based on the fact that you've heard what you've heard.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that closing remark. Dr. Ebi have said it all. Gerocare is definitely here to stay. Gerocare are the organization, we are the organization you can trust, and then ensure you can trust Gerocare to ensure that your parents are safe, even if you are far away from home. Thank you very much, Dr. Obiofre. I don't think anybody has any other thing to say. Or is there any question from the participants? I don't think there is none. So we'll wrap it up. This is our very first quarterly webinar. We'll be having this session often from now on. Thank you, our participants. Thank you for joining in.
Add one thing here, please. As this is the first, we'll be having it quarterly just to increase the awareness. So if you are here, please make sure you invite others for the next session. You can talk to them about Gerocare, but make sure they are present to hear for themselves and ask their questions for themselves. Every first week of the next quarter, we will be having these sessions to educate people about what we do and ensure we're able to provide succor to our elderly parents back in Nigeria who spend their lives taking care of us. The least we can do is to ensure they live great golden years.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure having you all on this webinar. See you in the next section. Bye-bye.
Thank you.